Wind blows, rain falls, and the strong prey upon the weak. War is a cruel parent, but an effective teacher. Its final lesson is carved deep in my psyche. Now there's a pretty meme. Exquisite.
There's a character unlike anything else we've ever seen in the Metal Gear series called Monsoon. And whenever you remember him as a epic boss fight or even a meme, what he actually says in that confrontation is one of the most genuinely honest things a video game villain has ever put forward. He speaks of reality, of nature, a dog-eat-dog world where the strong prey on the weak, the wind blows, the rain falls, the sun rises just as it sets. His ideology, I believe, connects to something way back to Arthur Schopenhauer, a 19th century philosopher who argued that beneath everything, that beneath consciousness, and beneath what we created as morality, beneath every system humans have ever built, there is one blind primal force driving all living things. He called it the will.
You lack the qualifications to exercise free will.
That's not true.
Not free will as we understand it, just will. The raw directionless hunger to exist and to persist and to survive at any cost. Something encoded into our primal DNA. A force that predates philosophy and predates religion. Predates civilization itself as we know it in the modern world.
Free will is a myth. Religion is a joke. Hormones, controlled by something greater. Memes. The DNA of the soul.
Monsoon is essentially Schopenhauer with a sword, and Metal Gear Rising, beyond its insanity and meme fest, is actually a pretty good game that I don't really like. Enough said about that, the better. But what I like about it is that it's the idea that humans function no differently to any other organism on the planet at our core. It is in the message of what Metal Gear Rising tells us beyond its flashy memeness. The reality of what we call life is bound by nature's specific rules, rules that no matter how many humans try to bend, can't be overridden. You don't get to vote on them, and they are the laws of the universe, and we operate inside them no differently to any other organism on this planet at our core. Take predatory animals, they hunt prey, the weaker species, because they know that's the order of things. Humans hunt animals too. We are just disguising it in what we've wrapped in a commercial industry in the language of supply chains and food markets. But when you strip it all back, it is the same impulse and the principle, the same hierarchy, the strong consuming the weak that sustains them. It is a survival mechanism that we've learned to use to our own gain without having to try too hard. And then there's mating. Every species has a ritual driven by genetics, by appearance, by signals of fitness and survival value. Humans are of course more nuanced and very more layered, and have found a way to be more poetic about it, but at its core it really is primitive and raw than most people will even admit, no matter how self-righteous they believe they are, or for their intentions that they believe or have others believe why it is that they pick their particular partner.
Forget a lady.
So there's something you like about me, huh?
Yeah. You've got a great butt.
Oh, I see. First it's my eyes, now it's my butt. What's next?
On the battlefield, you never think about what's next.
I reinvented myself to suit your tastes. Hairstyle, clothes, the way I moved, things I talked about. You say you love the color of my hair, my eyes. They're not even real.
And conflict is no different from what we see in other animals. Time and time again, humans have always been in some sort of conflict over resources, land, reproductive partners, and control. Base that against nearly every other predatory species on Earth, and it's not that far removed at all. Schopenhauer saw all of this, as I'm sure we all have as well. And Darwin's understanding that species evolve over generations through natural selection, a process where organisms with advantageous traits survive. It's survival of the fittest. Moral codes and philosophy don't matter when someone or something is charging to kill you for survival or tribalistic purposes.
Generation. Altruism among blood relatives is a response to natural selection. It's called the selfish gene theory.
You're telling me that your genes are ordering you to save the genome soldiers?
You can't fight your genes. It's fate. All living things are born for the sole purpose of passing on their parents' genes.
After the fall of the Patriots, as we understand, the shadow system that spent decades controlling the flow of information, conflict and ideology, we see the human condition unfold once again. Even if the war economy-based system and social programming has ceased to exist amongst the masses in this controlled civilization, it's still encoded into the DNA of our very being. The war economy doesn't dissolve, as Metal Gear Rising shows us, it adapts. Because that's what Schopenhauer's will, or rather his point, is the human condition unfolds again exactly as it always has, regardless if the Patriot system ceases to function. Even if the social programming that has ceased to exist amongst the masses to keep everyone so-called civilized is still encoded into the DNA of our very being, at the very least, to act in our primitive ways. Desperado, for example, takes full advantage of the aftermath of this system, exploiting battle-torn situations and operating with the cold clarity of something that understands exactly what humans revert to when structure falls to pieces.
Can you imagine what would happen if they ceased to function? Picture a massive political vacuum, a space that every powermonger will try to fill for their own greedy ends. I'm talking about an unregulated power struggle, panic, civil war, chaos.
At the head of this group is Senator Armstrong, and Armstrong, as we know, is a tribalistic leader. His goals is to reignite the US hegemony to make America the ultimate tribe above nations, no different to what we've seen throughout history, to start a new war on terror against the so-called terrorists like themselves to continue a new war economy. The Orwellian ideas blend into the doublethink, the monsters or beasts rather, making themselves appear righteous amongst a controlled population that they wish to cull to use to their own benefits.
The excuse we've been waiting for. America's wanted this war for years. The Patriots, they knew war was good for the economy. 4 years later, their legacy lingers on. The memes. They left us their great isms. Nationalism, unilateralism, materialism. Welcome maxims for those with no faith, without guiding principles of their own. Give yourself up to the whole. No need to better yourself. You're American. You're number one.
Armstrong isn't confused about what he is. He recognizes nature, just that he justifies his actions with this natural law, that the strong thrive and the weak die. Yet, whilst using such methods, he opposes the natural law of what nature intends, or rather suits it around his own ideology based on free will, opposed to what Schopenhauer referred to as just will. But underneath all the political theatre is no different to the hierarchies in the likes of lion prides, as well as chimpanzees and so forth. Whilst not fundamentally the same, the dynamics are still very similar. What Armstrong actually wants is an extreme social Darwinist society, in where the world and the strong itself thrive, where Darwin's natural selection observes becomes literally a manifesto.
Evolve, but unchained! The weak will be purged, and the strongest will thrive, free to live as they see fit. They'll make America great again!
As much as all of it reads as villainy on the surface through what we've constructed in our minds over years of philosophy and so forth and modern society as morality.
Just look at the strange juxtapositions of morality around you.
Billions spent on new weapons in order to humanely murder other humans.
Rights of criminals are given more respect than the privacy of their victims.
Although there are people suffering in poverty, huge donations are made to protect endangered species. Everyone grows up being told the same thing.
Be nice to other people.
But beat out the competition.
And kids are cruel. All people are by nature. They just lose touch with it as they get older. Start thinking they know right and wrong. That's immoral. War crime this, code of conduct that. In my new America, people will die and kill. for what they believe!
In reflection, is just nature taking its course? Is it safe to assume that some predatory animal is cruel or evil for simply just acting within its survival instinct, just as it is Armstrong taking advantage of the weak? What seems malevolent and evil is laws of nature unfolding as intended, or why else would they exist? Opposed to humans capable thought of free will, Armstrong then does become a malevolent force. A force of nature, one acting outside of plausible rationality, or perhaps, just like everything else, acting simply on instinctual behaviour. Animals operate purely on instinct, hardwired programming encoded into their DNA from millions of years of evolution, no different from us. The difference being is that they have no moral debate or self-reflection, that they simply act because nature commands it to. The difference is that we are self-aware of it and we can look at our own instincts, recognize them for what they are and make a conscious choice about what we do next. And it's that awareness is what separates us, the ability to understand right from wrong, to reason, to reflect it in all what we've created. And yet despite that awareness, we continue to follow the same patterns of nature anyway.
Aren't you? Gonna fix everything. Just you and your little sword there. Solve everything with violence. Is that it?
My sword is a means to an end. To protect those you'd prey on.
Really? Let me ask you. All those cyborgs you've killed up to now, maybe they weren't kids, but they were people. You ever think about them? When you're chopping them into hamburger?
They're adults. They made their choice.
And with this is where our intelligence out of the Pandora's box has become the most dangerous thing that nature has ever produced. Because unlike every other species whose destructive capability is capped by biology, human intelligence has no such limit. Yet even so, our uniqueness of free will goes beyond than just instructions that an AI encodes, or rather instincts like most predatory animals.
I thought they had a choice. A fair choice. Not like you.
People are different.
As opposed to AIs? You're all the same, huh? You and your brothers. Manipulating mankind for our own good.
It appears my statement has upset you. I apologize.
No, I know you're right.
As for AIs, we adapt as we learn. Just as any intellect operates, man or machine. Altering the course of mankind is not among my defined directives.
I guess that's a relief.
So it's common knowledge that Hideo Kojima had minimal involvement in the direct story of Rising, but I'd like to believe that the overarching themes of natural selection is partly his doing. Because even with the fall of the Patriots, the mirror reflects back exactly of what Ocelot warned about at the end of MGS4, where the world would be collapsing into chaos, which actually reminds us what the Patriots, for all their evil, were in a strange way to be a necessary evil to keep the animals from remembering that they are animals, to keep order in the chaos with systems that ultimately unfolded in a way that was beneficial for humankind, or so the AI told us.
We are formless. We are the very discipline and morality that Americans invoke so often. How can anyone hope to eliminate us? As long as this nation exists, so will we.
Not even natural selection can take place here. The world is being engulfed in truth.
And this is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper.
We're trying to stop that from happening.
Ironically, in this paradox, humans invented morality precisely because we recognized our own capacity for destruction and what it means, and we understood what it needed to work around it. But still, whether morality actually stops it is where it gets complicated, because morality, of course, is largely subjective. all shaped by culture, religion, and ideology, and whoever holds the most power and resources to define it. What Metal Gear Rising displayed is a question of morality, and of course ideology. What one civilization could call justice, another could easily call barbarism. Throughout the entirety of the game, every character is fighting for their own idealistic view of the future. And then again, come to think of it, the entire series. Once we built every culture and religion and ideology, we gave ourselves entirely new things to destroy each other over. Animals, and even parasites, will fight over survival, territory and reproduction rights, tangible things that nature all designed for us to exist in. And human abstracted those same drives into ideas, and now we go to war over those ideals. Whose ideology is correct and whose culture is the most superior, and none of which have any biological necessity, yet produce the same kind of violence.
I mean to have my revenge against Zero. It's not petty hatred or resentment. Nothing so personal. Even the hottest lava eventually cools, becoming a mountain. And that mountain becomes the land. Scalding steam comes back down as rain, forming rivers, draining into the sea. It's then that nature's order sets in. Now I'm merely a part of that cycle. Just like Zero. And you.
The paradox is that the systems built to civilize us became new weapons for the same primal behavior. Religion founded on morality has justified more bloodshed than almost anything in history. Ideology promising liberation consistently produces oppression for other people. Culture that gives people identity can also be the same mechanism used to dehumanize anyone outside of it. Like Monsoon says, we didn't escape our nature. We can't fight nature. It still will exist no matter how many advancements we make. The process of life repeating itself like seasons and survival patterns still will continue to exist, repeating the same process inside the laws of the universe that govern us.
Is it really so horrible? They're only trees.
They go from full blossom to bare in a week. 1 fucking week. Everywhere in DC you hear, oh, it's so fleeting and beautiful. Pathetic. What do you think?
Nature is just nature. Not beautiful, not ugly. The wind blows, the flowers float away. It's simply how things are.
Richard Dawkins introducing the concept of the meme in his book The Selfish Gene, something that Kojima clearly touched up on in Metal Gear Solid 1, is the meme of an idea, a behaviour or cultural practice that gets passed from person to person, generation to generation, shaping how people think and act without necessarily being aware of it. Just as genes are biological instructions passed down through DNA, memes are cultural instructions passed down through society. And just like genes, they can be used to serve purposes far beyond the individual carrying them. This is exactly with Raiden and the child soldiers himself that were born into, an ideology they are ultimately conditioned into, the meme of war. Solidus, Armstrong, and even including the Patriots understood they could manipulate life and reprogram people's minds because the free will allowed them to do so. Philosopher Antonio Gramsci called this cultural hegemony, the idea that those in power can maintain control through force and through shaping beliefs and values of the people beneath them so thoroughly that people begin to police themselves. Soldiers like Raiden will fight not because they are forced to, but because they genuinely believe in what they are told to believe. And it's far more efficient as a form of control than violence alone. That shows those who understand true knowledge and the ability to understand nature can control what's within it. And Dawkins' meme theory connects directly to the MGS series, conclusion that the ideas we pass down are as consequential as the genes we carry. But Kojima brilliantly built the entire codec philosophy around this, with Snake's whole arc about breaking the meme, refusing to let what was done to him determine what he does next. That Raiden is the same in question, that he can recognize, just as we can, the programming and choose differently outside of what we're built from.
I think I found something to pass along to the future.
What?
He said all living things want their genes to live on.
Are you talking about the baby?
Yeah. The genes aren't the only thing you pass on. There are too many things that aren't written into our DNA. It's up to us to teach that to our children.
What kind of things?
About the environment, our ideas, our culture, poetry, compassion, sorrow, joy. We'll tell them everything together.
To me, it shows the paradox of being the most intelligent species on Earth, aware enough to recognise all of what I've mentioned above, and continue to carry out exactly what Monsoon describes of nature just running its course. We try to outdo nature through our advancements, and yet we continue to confirm its hold over us even though it is recognised. The MGS series explores this throughout, with human advancements in technology and modern warfare, all creating this illusionary world peace, while the means that we use to achieve it remain the same contradiction they've always were, even if we edge further away from our instincts. For example, and maybe just completely convoluted rubbish, whilst completely unrelated, so many in this fandom believe MGS5 still has a third chapter missing called Peace. Yet I believe they missed the point that the game is trying to tell them. They become just like the characters waiting for Peace Day that will never ultimately arrive, and maybe that's the point. Chapter 3 is linked to the FOBs, nothing more. I believe it was a social experiment to show that peace is hard to obtain because of so many conflicting ideologies, as Metal Gear Rising tries to explain. The game's cutscenes would only unlock if specific measures were met, being the eradication of all players' nuclear weapons, and yet this was only ever obtained through the Phantom Nuke issue, where a legitimate zero count cannot be reached. The cutscene frequently triggered due to an Integer flaw where basically hackers increased the nuke count to over 2 billion, causing the system to bug out and reset to zero. The same can be said about the PS3, since achieving disarmament was so much easier because no one was playing on the servers and they was less active. But the point is, when somebody shuts down a nuke, another player builds another. It's a continuous cycle without an end. One person will put down the spear, another person will forge it. It's an illusion of peace and a clear message that deterrence has created it, and at the same time the risk of all-out annihilation has gone up as just as it's gone down. With the rules of nature, as humanity has found new ways to feed its instinctual mechanisms. Philosopher Carl Jung said the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, and I believe that connects to everything we've been talking about, in terms of Raiden's paradox and even our own, recognising what we are and who we're supposed to be. And even with all our cultural beliefs and religious beliefs that divide us, there's no reasons that humans actually cannot coexist in reasons that respects the will of others, as the end of the series often tried to explain to us. If that we are willing to drop revenge, as MGS5 shows, is a continuous cycle that would only feed into our destruction. The beliefs and ideologies of Desperado appear to be deterministic nihilism based around chaos, the truth of what we are, and not concludes the only honest response is to burn it down, or rather embrace traits of nature to the full extent, forgetting that free will of not just us but others exists. Outside this is ironically in the chaos. Raiden, like some others, becomes the order, keeping the whole natural balance in check. That cannot actively stop every destructive force, but can most certainly ensure preservation, giving us a balance between the two, in which Desperado, as we understand, seeks to exploit, or rather excuse, its extreme Darwinism despite actually not being fully chained to it. Simply, Desperado act like an organisation just based around natural instinct, rather than acknowledging that free will exists. The message MGS Rising ultimately tries to give the audience, that you're defeating the antagonist that prevents you from implementing what it is you believe, that the only way out of the cycle is to strike out and pave your own way, to make your own future. Essentially a message that Kojima had been trying to give to the fans decades before they even understood what it even meant. Was Monsoon right, and did he have a point? Yes, and I think some of the characters alongside him, like Sam, had something very similar to an optimistic sense of nihilism, the understanding that while life lacks inherent objective meaning, that absence is actually liberating because nothing is cosmically predetermined. You are free to define your own purpose, to choose what you protect, to live authentically within the very rules of nature that allow you to do so. And in the case, it is the survival of the fittest. Usually healthy genetics determine high chances of probability, but it doesn't always determine your fate. Metal Gear Solid 1 told us this over 20 years ago, that genetics don't have to determine the actions we make. Just because we are bound to specific rules of nature doesn't mean we are incapable of changing the dynamics of the order. Yet the one that lives continues the fight, carries the title, inherits the memes. As Raiden defeated Desperado as he did Solidus hones in this point, the idea of which monstrosity will have the privilege of survival to pass on either their genes or memes. In the conclusion of this video, it seems that we have been given the key to this existence but haven't truly found a way to preserve it for the generations that follow. And that's exactly what the MGS series has always argued, that the memes we pass down and the ideas and the examples we set should be preserved to allow the next generation to lead and so forth. Some memes should be forgotten and others are a part of who we are. There has been an understanding throughout the years whenever this will eventually lead to our complete destruction or a genuine ascension and awareness of our existence, is the question I believe this series has always been asking. That ultimately, it's really up to you to decide what to believe and what to pass on. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Until we meet again.
Kill. Or be killed. Don't be ashamed. It's only nature running its course. Your memes end here. No, I passed one to you. Sure as the sun will rise, the slaughter will continue. Now, I return to the earth.